Guys, what's up?
Hey, Coach. Questions?
James, what has Xavier Gilliam specifically done to put himself in a position to have a role this year?
He's just super consistent, very mature. He's gotten bigger, stronger, faster. You know, obviously, he was a D end in high school and a basketball player, and you know he's a really good 305 pounds. He's productive in the run game. He's productive in the pass game. He's come to work every single day. He's smart. He's football smart. He's been really good. There's been a lot of excitement within the program about him for a while, and he's legitimately fighting for a starting job right now.
James, are you going to have 110 scholarship players next week, and have you worked that out? We know who they're going to be.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think we're near that.
Pat talked a little bit about the.
I don't think we're allowed to have 110. Are we?
105. I think so.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was a trick question.
Trying to get me in real trouble.
You passed. That's my learning experience.
Pat talked a little bit about the report over the weekend about Tony T bringing up the idea of 20-plus teams for the playoff. What's your reaction? Have you had any discussion about that? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, knowing Pat, he's given you all the quotes you need. I'm focused on Nevada and Penn State. Those discussions are really good for the commissioner and really good for the athletic director. Obviously, I'm a part of those conversations in the off season, but right now, totally focused on Penn State and totally focused on Nevada.
James, where are you with respect to establishing a QB2, and how will you divvy up the reps among Gronk and Smolik from here to opening day?
Yeah, we're close to making a decision. We haven't sat down and talked to those guys yet. Probably a week ago, we were close to, making a decision and then held off because we had a couple inconsistent practices. But we're close to making that decision again. What was the second part of your question?
How you plan to divvy up reps between now and the opener, knowing there's only so many reps available in practice for the second teamer?
Yeah, so the guy that we feel like is in the lead right now, we've started to adjust those reps, but not to the point where the decision's been made.
James, how close are you to making a decision at right guard between Donko and Cousins? What does that look like right now?
Donko, Cousins, and Shanahan.
Excuse me.
Yep. All three of those guys are in the heat of it. And to be honest with you, it's also how Rucci's playing, right? All of those things kind of are factored in together. But I'd say it's similar to the quarterback. I think we got a pretty good idea if we were going to play this Saturday, but it's still close enough that we're gonna continue the competition. Different than quarterback, we're still probably rotating all those guys, equal reps, but it's a battle, and it really includes all four of them because how Rucci plays factors in, because we can move Donka to tackle and then it's a two-man race inside. So not ready to make that decision yet, but it's a really good battle, and it's a really good problem to have. I think we could win with all of them.
Do you feel like you're in a good spot, bumps, bruises, health-wise, 10 days ago, rather?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, this time of year, you're going to have it. But I think the coaches have done a really good job. Nelly's done a really good job of making suggestions. We're down. I want to say, it may not sound significant, but we're down like 127 minutes from last year's camp. We're down a significant number of reps. And specifically when you talk about the proven commodities, right? Like, Deny needs to get better, but we got to be smart with him because we know who Deny is. Same with Zane, right? So guys like that, Singleton and Fat, guys like that, we've modified their reps even more so. And we've done that every year. But I think the combination of overall being a little bit more strategic with our reps and with time on feet, and then having specific plans for the guys that are proven commodities that made a choice to come back and didn't have to, being really smart and strategic with those guys. Very similar to what we did with Olu a few years ago.
James, to that end, how would you characterize what you've gotten out of camp so far?
Out of camp,
Yeah.
I feel really good about it. We've had a ton of reps. I don't know if I said this to you guys before. It's interesting. Like, the old ball coaches, right? You talk about the days of the two-a-days are gone. In college, we did three-a-days the entire time. I wouldn't go back if I could. I think the morning walkthrough and the afternoon practice is enough. We get a ton out of it, especially the way we are walking through. Guys are doing a really good job being detail-oriented, footwork, pad level, all of it. So I think it's been really good. So I think we're in a good place. Obviously, it's very different in year 2 with Andy and very different in year 2 with Stig. And everything's about, putting our defense and putting Jim in the best position as well, so that we can come out from game 1 and play championship level football. So I like where we're at. We still got some work to do, but good thing, we still have time to get there.
Coach, you mentioned it's year 2 for Coach Kotelnicki. For the players, that there's familiarity with that too. What do you see in the difference in him as he's coaching? Is he a little bit more open to not criticize a guy or talk to a guy? Do you see any differences in year 2 for Coach than you saw in year 1?
I think the biggest thing is he knows our program. He knows how we operate. So there's a ton of value in that. Less questions he has to ask. But then the other thing is he knows our personnel better. Like, he knows our team better. He knows what our strengths are. He knows what our weaknesses are. We've gotten to a point now in camp. We got a pretty good idea of what our identity is going to be. So I just think he knows our team better. He knows what Liam's strengths are and how do we play to Liam's strengths. And, Dinkins, and I can go on, Singleton. So I think that's probably the biggest difference is how do we maximize our personnel and how do we hide some of our deficiencies while we're still working on them.
Talking about the defensive tackle position in general, we all know about saying we saw a lot of what Alonso get through last season. Behind him, we haven't seen a lot of reps from those step players. So how do you feel those step pieces behind those two have progressed this game? So
Those what pieces?
the depth pieces.
Depth pieces,
behind
yeah.
it.
I think good. You guys obviously you'll get a chance to see a ton of it during the first 3 games. Plan on playing a bunch of those guys to create depth, but also to evaluate them. Wafel's a guy that's really been a nice addition for us, and is playing some really good football. So I think he factors in, and that those next couple guys, there's a battle. There's a battle. Enai's done some nice things since we've moved him inside. I think he's already up to 275 pounds, so he has the ability to carry the weight pretty easily. Randy Adarica is doing some good things. So there's a Cook who's doing some good things. So there's a group of guys. But I just think the development of the Wafels and some of those guys that you guys haven't seen, it'll be really important in those first 3 games.
I think a lot of people think training camp is the end of development. You're talking a lot about these guys developing through the season. How does that change from we're going in camp of specifically trying to develop guys, trying to get guys better, to now you're trying to win games? How do you do both of those during the season?
Well, I think there's the aspect that there's guys right now we think are going to be ready by game 1, right? But then there's also guys that we think maybe not be ready by game 1, but we think they're going to be ready by game 4 or 5. And that should change. And we've had that every year. Guys that were yellow at the end of camp, but then by game 4 or 5, they turned to green. We've had guys that we thought were going to be green and then, slowed them down because they didn't play as well as we thought they were going to be. So we'll have a better idea of where we're at after game 3. We have a bye week as well, so that'll be helpful too to kind of look at our roster and which of those guys that played in the first 3 games will continue to play, or which guys are we going to shut down and save their 4th game for later in the season when we need it. So we'll know more, but we're in a pretty good place. But to your point, there's guys that are going to be held up on the varsity field, and there's going to be guys that are down with the scout team, or what we call a developmental squad. But there's been guys that have been down there that keep flashing, and then all of a sudden the coaches are like, hey, you need to take another look at this guy. He's killing our starters. So there's still a chance for those guys. It's not like they go down there and they're, it's the black hole. They fall off the cliff and they're not watched again. They're evaluated. So that development's all year long. What's better than going against the starters every single day at practice if you embrace it the right way?
James,
Two more guys.
James, what have you seen from the receivers, specifically the transfers and Drew, being able to get comfortable together throughout camp?
Yeah, it's been good. Hudson's steady Eddie, big, strong, physical, contested catch guy, very mature, very smart. Pena is obviously was very productive. He's been probably better than I thought he was going to be, and I thought he was going to be pretty good. I've mentioned already that I do think he's a guy that got faster and stronger and more explosive in our strength and conditioning program. And then I think Ross, you guys saw in the spring, he's got the ability to be kind of the guy in space that I think scares some people just from a quickness. He's so efficient with his movements. So those three guys, I like where they're at. I would also make the argument with those three guys. I think it's going to be really important coming out of the first three games. That we feel like we really know what we have with those three guys and how we can use them. So just like Andy knows our team better, we know those guys too, but we'll have a much better idea of who they are, who those guys are as well after the first three games.
Hey, James, you've said that internally the expectation is to win national titles. With the off season that this program has had, the additions that you've made, is there maybe a new sense of pressure to deliver on that expectation?
No, I think you guys have asked me that question before, and I think I've covered it, but I'll cover it again. I think within our program and within this campus and within this community and within our alumni, and that's always the expectation. We finished the game before the national championship game and maybe a drive before that, and it didn't feel like it, right? People were pissed and disappointed, and most programs around the country would die to have that type of season. So there's more talk going on nationally. I get that. But within our program, I don't really sense a difference. I think there's recognition, that they've earned more conversations nationally. And I think if you follow patterns or storylines in terms of people that have been in the playoffs and then been able to get guys to come back, that's a storyline that I think a lot of people are running with. But at the end of the day, we got to go out and handle our business, and we got to do it one game at a time. But I don't sense that within our program. I don't feel that because I feel like that's always the expectation.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.